Politics of the weekend. So much has happened. For a moment, we all forget that we had said that, you know what, we should try and stop doing this campaigns that we have around. We should not have crowds coming on board to just discuss politics and generally everything and anything. That is according to President Uhuru Kenyatta's declaration, which, as far as I'm concerned, he has not, said otherwise in regards to this. And so we ask ourselves, are we really genuine in the fight against COVID-19 or against the spread of COVID-19? But that aside, what do you read out of all this movements that are made by our very own leaders in regards to just projecting their political interests as the electorate? What do you gather from this? As we are headed to 2022, what will you pick that will be of importance even as you go out there to the ballot? You're going to elect a leader based on ideology, based on the policies, based on what it is that they bring on board. In most cases, we say we fail ourselves as the electorate because when it gets there, we're whipped by emotions and we talk matters, party affiliation, we talk a tribe, we talk, this is my person and that is his person and all that. And we tend to forget the most important things. As I would always remind you, you might elect him in just because he's, your tribesman. But you tend to forget that when unga is expensive somewhere on the shelves, it's going to be expensive for everyone. It will not be a different affair for someone who comes or hails from Western Kenya, hails from Rift Valley or Central or Nyanza or any other part. So today we discuss the politics of the weekend. We look at Nairobi, what is happening, and whether indeed that was a wise move to get Kananu on board, or what it means in regards to ensuring that we uphold the rule of law. Joining me for this conversation, as I had earlier on mentioned, we still maintain Irungu Goko, who's a governance expert. Thank you so much again for sticking around with us. And we'll be having John Kagushia, who is the Speaker of Nyeri County, joining us via Skype, and importantly, Communication Advisor, Dr. Barak Muluka. Good morning, sir. Karibu sana. And I think it's only fair that we look at what happened in Nairobi, because it happened first. I remember on Friday, I was the one who was trying to break that news, because it was, breaking news. And Barak, coming to you, the last time we were here, we're discussing Nairobi. We're trying to say, what might culminate, what might play out, and the likelihoods that Nairobians are not going to go for a by-election. And I remember we had Eric Ragalo, who kept on insisting that, Kananu is the one who's being positioned for this. And we all said, well, we're not going to mention names, but reality is that there's going to be a big game that will be played. Is this a game, or it was the best thing for the people of Nairobi?
Thank you very much, Linda. Mm-hmm. To start with the second barrel of that question, it's not the best thing for the people of Nairobi, because they have been disenfranchised. But secondly, you will remember that I sat right here where I am, and I told you and the viewers that I could see as clearly as I could see that you are seated there, what was going to happen. And the drama is still unfolding, because Kananu is not the end game. The end game is somebody else who is yet to come. And Kananu has arrived in the imagery of John the Baptist, preparing the way for the Messiah who is to come. Very soon, she's going to be sworn in as the governor of Nairobi, and she will appoint a deputy governor who has already been set aside for her. And when you listen to the way people are talking, you look at the optics, the dynamics, and the gymnastics, it's not difficult to see who that person is. And as soon as that person has been appointed deputy governor, there's every likelihood that Anne Kananu will resign,
and then this
person
ascends.
In the same gymnastics will become the governor of Nairobi, and he, because I know it will be a he will
appoint a deputy governor
who then serves alongside himself, and it is the handshake business. When you see some people trying to tag a little bit and telling President Uhuru Kenyatta things like crack the whip, that is part of the blackmail that goes with this. People have now perfected the art of wickedness in politics. And so the people of Nairobi have been disenfranchised. The law has been thrown right through the wind. We have a situation where somebody who has not gone through the process the way it ought to be is going to hold as governor for a while. And the whole process is thoroughly flawed. And it's an abuse of the law. It is political gangsterism.
Well, all this, then Kananu should be having interest, I would want to believe. So why is it that she should be used as, John the Baptist, like you rightfully put it? And what makes you, have the confidence that, again, she will dance to the tune after getting exactly where it is that everyone else would want to get?
If you can move a whole assembly of Nairobi, more than 120,
to unanimously
do what they did, how far easier is it to deal with one individual like Anne Kananu? She's having her day in the sunshine, and I have no doubt in my mind that there are other rewards that we are
will
not
come
seeing.
Along with her for her.
She had just been sworn in. She went to Twitter and she was thanking President Uhuru Kenyatta
and Governor Sonko.
And Governor Sonko, but Governor Sonko was really just a by the way. Ideally, she was letting the cat out of the bag, out of a certain sense of naivety, because she was not supposed to suggest, even as remotely as possible, that the hidden hand of the president had been there. But through her pronouncements, we can now start understanding what Uhuru Kenyatta means when he tells Kenyans that
I'm in charge.
I'm in charge.
Let's loop in our speaker in Nyeri County. And the swearing in of the Speaker of Nairobi evidently meant that we did not have a governor, we did not have a deputy, and it's not even a week after, and we are treated to a whole different thing. What do you make of this whole process that culminates in Nairobi, and what are the likelihoods that this is going to serve as a huge lesson to other counties?
Well, thank you very much, Linda. I have been vocal and have given my position on this matter, particularly on the issues to do with law. And there are several issues that have been raised, legal issues, which I think are very important if we were to set the right precedence in devolution matter. Because the moment we disobey the law, then at that point you're going to find that we are actually barring the devolution that we have been working so hard to put in place. As we talk now, we have the proposal to have, or rather we have already sworn in a deputy governor who was not a deputy governor when the governor was impeached. And that in particular is a wrong move, legally speaking. It cannot in any way be supported through our constitution, because a deputy governor comes to deputize a governor who is working. And again, you can't possibly have a deputy governor who is appointed by the Speaker of the County Assembly, and of course the Speaker would also have the mandate, the legal mandate, or the local standard to appoint a governor or a deputy governor when they are in acting capacity. So looking at it legally, there's just no way that you can support what is happening in the county of Nairobi. And this to me is going to be a wrong precedence when it comes to devolution, and is actually tantamount to barring the devolution as we have been working so hard to put it in place. And I think it is something that we need to be very careful about. It's not anything different from what we are seeing in Nyandarua, where we have seen intrusion of the executive into the county assembly. We have also seen the participation, very active participation of the county commissioner in the county assembly affairs. You see the county commissioner sending police to go and scuttle meetings inside the precincts of the county assembly. Really is a sacred place for the people of Nyandarua. And really, this is something that as devolution defenders, as people who are in the devolved units, we condemn with the strongest term possible. And we hope that we can have the national government relooking at the approach in which it has in matters legal. And I appreciate very much what Senator Orengo did put across about the obedience of court orders. Because the moment you do not obey the law, then it's a recipe for chaos. We are making this place to be ungovernable in coming days. Imagine if you are to have a leader who is not very, very committed to human rights, and then we have set this kind of precedence, then that means they will take on the mantle and continue, propagating the same precedents that they have had in the past. So I would think that Nairobi County, the only way to salvage the situation, legally speaking, is to have an election conducted. Of course, I know people may have a problem with the issue of costs that are involved in conducting the election. People may also have a challenge with the disorganization that is brought about by a campaign, a political campaign, an active political campaign in the city. And also how it is likely to distract people from engaging in gainful business activities and economic activities. But again, we put ourselves in this problem by having the governor impeached.
One would look at the process of devolution in the country, and in as much as we'd say we're about 8 years into it, it's still something that we're trying to learn. It's still a process that we're trying to understand, even as we argue that is probably the best thing to do, or the best thing that we ever had as a people, and brings in the question as to whether it is necessary that even as we are on the process of making sure that devolution works, we understand some of the loopholes that come along again with it, and equally what is within the Constitution. On numerous occasions, we've spoken about the interests of the people, and probably the interest of the people of Nairobi in this case then would come up. And we speak of a scenario where many have argued it would be, improper, so to speak, to take Nairobians for a by-election, looking at what we are looking at, or what we are staring at, the fact that we are headed for an election 2022. Others have already concluded that we have a referendum coming our way, and there's no way two ways to that. So it will be like treating the country to 3 elections, in almost 1 year, something that technically would destabilize us. So probably in their own wisdom, it was the best thing to do. And in their own wisdom of getting to understand devolution and getting to address some of these issues and picking lessons that would be used, to address such issues if they occur in other counties. Probably this was the best way to approach things, and probably not treat people to a by-election. Let's allow Goko come in.
Thanks, leader. Let me say what Dr. here is saying is a possible scenario where the governor might appoint a deputy governor, then she resigns. But I had made a Facebook update about it, which is, which was a bit comical, and I thought it's just a constitutional joke because it's practically possible to happen. But in my own thinking, Sonko appointed a deputy governor when he was in office. So the deputy governor was legally in office. Only that there was a court order stopping her from being vetted. Not that she didn't qualify. So if she didn't qualify at the point of appointment, that would have been mean, that now we'd be looking at it from a different perspective of people disobeying the Constitution. But at the point of appointment, Sonko was a governor, and the lady was academically qualified for the appointment, and the appointment was an official appointment. So the court case did not disqualify her from becoming the deputy governor unless there is another sitting deputy governor.
Alive to all these facts, why did they then swear in the speaker?
Her coming in, now the speaker was sworn in because the court case was still the court case was still underway.
Oh, this is the kind of confusion.
Yeah, the court case was still underway.
All right.
So the speaker could not have waited until until this person went and withdrew the case.
Okay.
So that means now, after the withdrawal, there was no election yet. If the case was withdrawn after the election of the governor, so it could have practically meant that it doesn't matter whether she's as in like another county administration would have been in place.
Okay.
But before another county administration came into place, the whole case was the case was withdrawn and she was vetted by the county assembly and she qualified. They voted for her. We cannot be talking about the rule of law when it favors us and the rule of law when we cannot be supporting the law when it's they say law ni msumeno inakata ikienda na ikirudi. So Kananu is in office legally.
Oh.
As a deputy governor.
All right, you can come in, Barack.
I need to correct that position.
She's not. Let's give the governor
the
first.
Okay. Yes, Speaker.
I need to correct that position. I think Mr. Goko needs to understand how these things work.
Yeah.
Because I think he is completely out of sync with the devolution laws.
Right.
When the governor did nominate Kananu, that was a proposal. It was a nomination. So the governor nominated the deputy governor at that point in time when the governor was in office. And then the deputy governor was supposed to, when we have gone through this process in Nyeri County twice, the governor is then supposed to propose this name to the county assembly. And the county assembly will then go through the process of vetting. They will go through the process of public participation. They will go through the process of debate in the county assembly, and then they will put a vote, and only after the vote can they recommend the name to the governor for appointment.
Okay.
And at that point is when the governor will go and gazette the name and have this appointment now gazetted as the official deputy governor or the duly appointed and somehow elected, because the process has also to go through IBC, it has also to go through the political party. Okay. So the person has also to be cleared by the political party. So all these processes are what was pending by the time the governor was impeached. As to how all these processes have been conducted within that short period of time, and then how did we then have the appointment of the deputy governor, because what we had was a proposal, was a nomination. How did we have this appointment? Did the speaker have the legal mandate to appoint the deputy governor? It's very important to distinguish these processes and to understand at what point do we do what. And if you look at even the issue of public participation, at what point did the county assembly do public participation?
All right.
The appointment of this deputy governor. Whichever way you look at it, this cannot pass in legal spheres at all. It cannot pass.
Cannot pass, but it has passed. Let's allow Barack to come in. Yes.
You see, the issue of passing in courts really. It doesn't mean that it is legally binding. It doesn't mean that it is legally right to have done that. And that is where we are saying, let us strictly observe the law. And if you do that, it's going to help us a lot. Because you see, as you put clearly, it's not desirable for people of Nairobi to have an election now. But remember, we initiated this impeachment ourselves. This impeachment would have been done a few months after, like it would have been done in February or in March this year, so that then the election of the governor of Nairobi can be combined together with the referendum vote.
Right.
And then that would have saved the people of Nairobi cost. So really, it's clear that the people who did initiate this issue of impeachment had of course in mind an idea of not ever conducting an election in Nairobi, and they of course had their calculation. As you can look at it, is a well schemed, well orchestrated, approach on having a deputy governor. In fact, we are told the deputy governor we are having now who is probably going to be the governor, we are told there are going to be more other interesting things that you're going to be seeing ahead of in this week or even in coming weeks.
Yes, and probably as fast as possible, because then this also seeks to counter any person or any individual who'd want to go and challenge this process in court.
These things, Linda, first, they are separate processes. Some of them may be related or have shades of relatedness, but they are different. When we talk about the election of a governor for Nairobi, we talk about a probable referendum, and we talk about a general election. They are flowing in three separate streams.
Right.
And the price of democracy and good governance is heavy. We need not illusion ourselves about that. But and I disagree completely with my brother and neighbor Rongo here when he tries to justify the unjustifiable. There is no right way of doing a wrong thing. There's no right way of doing an illegal thing. There's the principle of inchoate processes in law. Inchoate processes, these are processes that are incomplete at the moment that a major development, such as the impeachment of a governor, takes place. That means that all the processes that he had begun of such a nature as appointing a deputy governor rest dead. The moment that he is impeached, those processes also end. And it's purely on the basis of this that the Speaker of the Assembly was sworn in as governor in acting capacity. The understanding in law was that there was no deputy governor anywhere on the scene. And therefore, this person is to hold that office for 60 days. Now look,
it's not even 60 days.
The appointment of governor is also a properly legally documented process. That after everything else has been satisfied, then the governor, who is actually in office at that time, must appoint the deputy governor in writing and also place the seal of the office of governor on the appointing documents. Who is going to do that?
Nobody.
The acting governor? Where is he going to derive the mandate to do that? And then what happens to him after that? Does he wither away like the Marxist state and make room for this other person to become governor? Which law are we applying in this context? The rule of law is very important. What they are trying to do is something which lawyers call rule by law. And we have had scholars talk about what they call the post-democracy age. And we are living here in Kenya in the post-democracy age. The post-democracy age is where you behave in a manner that looks democratic, that you are manipulating the law and manipulating democratic institutions to give a semblance of legality to that which you are doing. But just scratched slightly beneath the surface, it's pruriently illegal. Finally, Linda, this is a very dangerous precedent in the extreme, and every Kenyan must stand up and condemn it. In the extreme, in the sense that going forward, we can go to an election, we come from that election. If in a number of counties we are unhappy with the governors who are there, we can initiate processes that mirror what we are seeing in Nairobi today, and we can end up installing extra-legally arriving governors. And that is not what the framers of our constitution had in mind. It's unacceptable.
Well, okay. Yes, we close it with you on this one of Nairobi as we await to see again what will happen and just how much the Nairobians are going to receive this. It's not been an easy one, but the question then is, why is it that we have individuals that genuinely argue that this is not legally right, condemn it properly, but there's really nothing much that is being done to overturn the entire thing that played out on Friday?
Let me say, my friend speaker and doctor here, all of us are interpreting the law based on our own understanding. This is the first scenario where we have such a situation. There's NMS in place, there's an acting governor, and there's a nominated deputy governor. This is the first scenario we are looking at as at now.
Right.
And I think in the wisdom of government, they were able to, maybe the AG and the legal advisors were able to see that it can go either way.
Linda, we can't call that wisdom,
Yes.
But let him proceed.
Would you suggest that it was wise to go for an election, for a by-election before we come back to him? Yes.
If it's wisdom, then it is wicked and perverted wisdom. It is
for political purpose.
Political or
for
stability?
Political purpose,
or
everybody can argue based on what they would have intended to see.
Yes.
This is legal.
Yeah.
It's about the law.
The law.
I would like Irungu to tell me what happens to the speaker who is now acting governor. Does he appoint?
Yes, he appointed CCs.
Does he appoint? That one is allowed by law.
Yes.
So we can give you the specific article and item of the law that provides that mandate.
Is there an article that stops him from swearing in or from? Okay, is there an article that stops us from having the deputy governor sworn in?
Now that is what I mean when I say perverted.
Exactly,
wisdom,
because that
intelligence,
that scenario is open.
Perverted
it's open.
Wickedness, perverted wisdom, wicked cleverness. Cleverness can be.
It's not wicked. No. Where you're looking at it from, but it's not.
Speaker, I know you probably.
Where you're looking at it.
Let's loop in the speaker. He probably could be having so much wisdom and knowledge of what is in the Constitution in regards to all these processes. Do you suppose there's some level of loophole that I know stands or sits in this, and so that probably would say this is what has landed us where we are today?
No, not really, but I would first of all want to caution my friend Irungu that you not cast aspersions, because the way he puts it, like we want to look at this issue politically, or we are trying to interpret this issue politically. If we were politically interpreting this issue, probably would be arriving at a different conclusion altogether, because he doesn't know where our my political inclination would be. If I was to politically interpret, maybe I would interpret it in more deeper ways, and I would even have more reasons to probably justify it, even more than he is doing. But now here we are talking about legal issues, and there is completely no lacuna in this. There is no loophole. This is a case where we have decided to go against what is indicated in our constitution. We have completely closed our eyes to an existing law, to the constitutional provisions. And that is why most of us who do respect our constitution and the laws that we have, and who think that if we continue with that trend, then it means within no time, we are likely to plunge ourselves into a deeper crisis. That's why we must talk and give guidance, and we must also remain true to ourselves. We must also remain true to our nation, and we must remain true to the constitution of this Republic of Kenya. And that is why it's important to point out issues as they are. So in this case, we don't have a loophole at all. The constitution guides us on how a deputy governor is nominated, elected. The constitution guides us on how a governor is removed from office, and even how a governor is installed in office. That is clearly indicated. So by avoiding to go through that process, particularly by avoiding to go through an election in this case, we are not in the right side of the law. And if you are to even start a little bit further away from where we are now, ask yourself how the governor of Nairobi was actually removed from office. You know,
yes.
And at that point, you are likely to come up with even a more interesting conclusion, because we, for example, removed him from online. We had a vote which was contested online. If you're to look at how Governor Waititi was also removed from office, there is of course the issue of, was it 56 MCAs who removed him, or was it 62 MCAs? How many MCAs were required to do so? If you are to look at what is happening now in Nyandarua County Assembly, we require 30 MCAs to remove a speaker. But in this case, you want to hand out a speaker out of the office when you do not even have the 20, even the 30.
Threshold, okay.
You're falling from that threshold by far. It is these acts of impunity that must be condemned and that must be discouraged at every opportunity available. Because if that continues, then I am telling you, because I've keenly been observing devolution. In fact, I'm coming up with my own analysis and very well compiled and researched mantra on how devolution has been from the time we began. And these are some of the dark spots that we are already seeing. And this is where then we need to speak so that we can avoid them. If we can avoid them, let's do so, so that then we can have a clear case of a devolved system that is working. Because if we do this, then we might be well-meaning. We might be wanting to help and save the economic activities of our people in the city.
All right.
But again, are we anchoring devolution for future and for posterity?
Well,
what happens when you have leadership in this country probably that will not be very friendly? So I want to be very clear on this. It is not out of political inclination or thinking, but really it is a sincere and very objective approach on a legal analysis of what is happening at the moment.
Okay, the grid that comes along with this and the numerous parties that were out there to field their own candidates. We witnessed UDA, being launched officially and, almost in lightning speed, setting up their own preferred candidate for this, and numerous other parties. Third Way Alliance went all the way to Canada to source for Miguna's services in this particular case. It probably blinds us to, getting to have healthy conversations as to how this would have been conducted anyway, because we agree that it's a first scenario and we probably are supposed to pick lessons and to, delicately handle the whole entire thing. And as much as we all agree that it has been enshrined on law, looking at all the UDA move and all that, what do you suppose could be their strategy, even as, evidently the likes of Jubilee, evidently the likes of ODM were not so vocal, in trying to clinch this?
I do not know what their strategies would be, but I'm aware that the constitution of this country
allows
latitude in circumstances such as this for virtually anybody,
right, including
any citizen, to go to court to seek redress on such matters. But I think it also is important to point out that it doesn't matter who the candidates may be. It doesn't matter which political parties are fronting who. I personally, as Barack, do not even agree that I would support some of the people I have seen being fronted to take over from Sonko. And even as Barack, I have never supported Mike Gideon Mbuvi Sonko for governor of Nairobi. Being a Nairobian who was born and bred in this city and who has known the glorious days that this city had in the past, in the 60s and 70s and 80s when I was growing up, that would not be my kind of governor. But I don't agree about the manner in which he was bundled out and about the manner in which we are trying to then have him replaced, because it is not about Sonko, for all his cluelessness And for all his clownishness,
Yes.
it is not about him. It's not even about some of the new clowns that some people are trying to also line up to take over from him. And I do not agree that they would necessarily save the city. But there is a bigger thing, which is the rule of law, which is the franchise of the people, which is the democratic tradition that we are killing. And I would implore the president to explain to Kenyans whether this is what he means when he tells us that he is in charge.
He's in almost all the, Mount Kenya region stations, over Nakita station, to probably address the nation in regards to this. Do you suppose then we're going to get so much out of all this? Because, we have to match up. The world is listening, even the few who do not understand are eagerly waiting, yes.
The president is head of state, so he's in charge. Whether he says it or not, he's in charge. He's the head of state, so he doesn't need to talk about it. Okay, once in a while he reminds, even an elder like Mzee here, once in a while he reminds us, I'm your elder. So not that we don't know it, but it's human nature to be reminded that I'm the head of state.
Okay.
So what the president is doing is he's watching two scenarios unfold. That is the government of the day and the government of 2020, post-2022 election. It's very common in a succession scenario. And for this one, he's looking at the future of the nation as well. So I get where he's coming from. He wants people who have been the dominant nations, economically, politically, to understand that the country has grown from when Tamak would get to Nanyuki, now to Moyare, where Tamak would get to Kitale, now it's up to going to Lodwar, towards Dadaab. From where TV was under a preserve of Nairobi, now it's a basic tool of communication across the country. Some of us are yet to come to terms with those things. And I think the president is, like my friend Woodboy would say, the president is ahead of many of us in terms of these matters. And when you are able to drive to Garissa without fearing of being attacked, just because a tarmac has been put into place, then somebody who was in Garissa 10 years ago may not have a clear picture of that. And I repeat from experience, even if today you go online and you searched Marsabit town, some of the articles still lead that the town is full of camels. But if you went to Marsabit town now, the town is a highway with street lights.
Is that to say that you're confident of the kind of development that we have seen today from the Jubilee government, that you support that it has done well in terms of service delivery, in terms of getting development to be realized for the people?
For us to grow politically, we must agree that the economics of the nation must lead, then the politics follow.
The president himself acknowledges that really so much that he would have wished to do has not happened, and so that's a clear indication that even the person at the top of the helm agrees that we have derailed in terms of making gains and all this. Right now, this is what he says. My most important thing to do right now is my job. We stop politicking and personal politics. That is what he says. I don't know whether he is genuine with that. And that is, of course, focusing on a BBI. That is what he says. He says Mount Kenya people should not allow themselves to be confused by a few individuals.
I support him because the president had nothing to lose bringing in NASA into the table to talk. He was already the president, sworn in, had a cabinet in place, 1 year running the government. If he didn't have a personal, if all that mattered for him is being a president, he was already there. But now he looked at it from what he said, that Mount Kenya, and let me use that term he has used. Mount Kenya must understand that we are no longer the people who runs the show like it was sometimes back. Every community today has a tycoon. Every community today has tarmac. Every community today has education. Every county has a university or a college. So those days that we thought Mount Kenya, everything started and ends with us, must come to an end in all aspects, in all spheres. Fine, we have our numbers to vote, but we do not have the 24 counties that we need.
Hold it right there. Do we still have the speaker on board? Speaker, are you there? I guess we lost the speaker, but all the same, let's come to you. You're there?
I'm here. Yes, I'm here.
All right. If what the DP says is anything to go by, he argues that the handshake, or the coming in of the likes of Right Honorable Raila Odinga have in a huge way, or has in a huge way altered the performance of the Jubilee. So I still insist that the people at the top of the helm maintain that they have not done well in terms of governance, in terms of development, or if they have, then probably they would have expected to do better. Do you agree with what Erongo argues, that indeed we've witnessed so much development and we should celebrate that? Should we sit pretty at that and say that, you know what, if these leaders exit the stage today, then they will have done us justice as a people?
Well, I do not have so much complaints about at least the performance of the government in terms of development projects that we have witnessed across the country. And it's something that personally, I think as a country we can celebrate, at least in terms of infrastructural programs that we have seen. And you start from coast all the way to Nyanza, all the way to western, to eastern, to northeastern. And part of this has happened because of devolution and having upheld devolution and channeling so much money into the devolved units. And of course, a lot of other infrastructure development has also happened from the national government, which largely has also been supported by our borrowing abroad. And we have done so well so far in terms of development, I would say. But then there are other areas of the economy that have also suffered during the same time. For example, like the microeconomy for the wananchi has, for some reason, suffered because of various reasons. Of course, sometimes it could actually be the taxation that has been in place because of supporting the borrowing that we have with the international donors. And that sometimes can have an effect of slowing down the economy for the common mwananchi. But largely, I think we have done well. Probably where the handshake may have altered our governance in this country is where we lost the voice of opposition. And once you have given government too much power and there is no opposition, then there's a likelihood that some of the things that would have been done better may not be done in such a way. And for example, like now we have been arguing about the issue of rule of law, and largely there has not been any voice that is putting this across. So you'll find that a lot of the people who are actually in government, who are supposed to be guided and pressured to follow the rule of law, actually some of them who are actually now becoming the voice themselves from within the government, where they also find themselves in the wrong side of politics. But remember, we do not need to have that kind of a subjective approach. What we need to have is a clear opposition that clearly checks government right from the word go, and that way a government which is put in check can deliver even much more.
Interesting to note, Speaker, is that as many would have argued, the opposition itself is within government today. Just pick some of the words of the president this morning. He says they're telling you this thing, that is the BBI, belongs to Raila. But if money comes to, for example, the Kirinyaga County, who is Raila's neighbor in Kirinyaga, that is what he is asking. Let us focus on what will protect your children and your children's children. I am not forcing you to be with me, but don't trust anyone blindly. The money my opponents, steal daily is over, said the 2 billion cost of the referendum. Now, these people, that is my political opponents, are disingenuous, and this is what the president says. We are yet to know how much the BBI referendum will cost. we are yet to reach that stage. And numerous other things that he is speaking about. Do not be cheated with tall tales. They stand on top of cars and hurl insults. Insults don't endure. Truth does. Any truth that we...
The truth be told, the President, His Excellency the President, is himself disingenuous. And sometimes we use big words like disingenuous so that we leave the audience behind. Disingenuous simply means hypocritical. It means dishonest.
Yeah.
You are talking about a referendum process which you are telling us is good for us, and you have not costed it. We don't even know how much it is going to cost us. Just the process itself, you have not costed it in terms of when we begin implementing it. When we are going to have 70 new members of parliament, when we are going to have the expanded executive, we have not been told about that. His Excellency the President is being disingenuous when he tells us that there are people who are stealing billions of shillings every day. And at the same time, he's telling us that he's in charge in this country. When he's in charge in this country, we have put him there so that he's the ultimate prefect. His government should arrest these thieves who are stealing billions every day so that they are arraigned before the courts and they are sent to jail where thieves belong. You cannot be the head of state, head of government, like my good friend Mr. Irungu here says, and you join us, the citizens, in lamenting about thieves, some of whom you are saying are within your own government. What are you doing about that? You cannot be that lamenting president. It's also true that what we are witnessing today is competition between what is called old money and new money. Old money is money whose owners, visible owners that we see today, have inherited from some places in social science. New money is money that the people we are seeing with seem to have made themselves. Now, in this country, if it is true, as we are hearing, that they are thieves, and that to be rich you must be a thief, then we must have a national conference on wealth. We must have a national conference where all the rich people in this country tell us where they have got the money that they have. That is what we mean when we say you are now not being disingenuous, you are being honest. We perhaps need even a conference of thieves, like the ones that Ngugi wa Thiong'o gives us in the book titled Devil on the Cross, and which he first published in Gikuyu as Shaitani Mudharabaini, so that each of these thieves can tell us where he has got his money. We
could not manage a lifestyle audit.
Yeah, because it is wrong to keep on telling us every day that there's a thief there, and this thief here is standing on top of a stolen car. You must also tell us, and if it is money you have inherited, we also need to know where your progenitors got that money that you inherited. These things must be discussed. You know, now as Barack, at 60 years plus, I call it the way
it is.
It is. The only assignment left for me in this country is to tell Kenyans the truth until the day I drop dead.
Well,
so they are beneficiaries of old money, which could be stolen money, and which we need to know about.
If all this was stolen,
they are beneficiaries of new money, which could also be stolen money, and we need to know about all of these monies.
You probably have had this narrative, you know what, let's bring him on board because he has his own money. He probably is not going to steal more from us. Let's bring him on board because he comes from a rich family, and therefore he will not have that, desire to go out there and quench his own, thirst in terms of getting money or fleecing the taxpayers' money. And true to it, probably we would not really have so much of an issue if these individuals were doing justice to the people in terms of us realizing, developments out of the tax that we pay, out of, the monies that we borrow. If we borrow and we are able to sustain the debt, we borrow and we can see development coming out, we can see this money in circulation and this money being used, in right channels and all that. But such is not what we witness today. Would you agree with what it is that the speaker and what Irungu speak of, that indeed, in as much as we would want to point a finger at the Jubilee government, it has done so much in terms of getting us from point A to point B? Would you arguably say that President Uhuru Kenyatta is probably amongst the best, or maybe one of the best president that we've ever gotten in comparison to the others that were there then?
In terms of the macro indicators, and I have the privilege, unlike my friends here, they are talking about things they read
they
about
have only read.
in books and what they have been told.
Yes.
Jomo Kenyatta died when I was 20 years old.
Is
I
it
had
so?
to be away from the University of Nairobi, and therefore I can speak about this country from a position of an eyewitness account. So from the level of macro indicators, the physical things that we can see with the eyes and count with our fingers, I think that there is no gainsaying the fact that we see more development now than we have ever seen before. And I think it is a factor of devolution which the Jubilee government has attempted to reluctantly implement. Reluctantly in the sense that we could be doing even better. There are budget lines which are still sitting with the national government and which ought to be already with the devolved government. There are budget lines, for example, in the health ministry, which remains very much the same as they were in the old days. But it is true that if you go even to villages such as Manyuria, where I come from, you can now see some tarmac passing through that village. We can see lighting in the night at the marketplace. We can see that security has increased. It is true that you get to little places all over the country, shopping centers, and you can see street lights. You can see that the countryside is transforming. People have got electricity in their houses, even in semi-permanent houses, that there is security lighting in those homes, that there are even garden lightings that villagers are experimenting with. That said and done, we cannot rest on our laurels and start saying that this is enough, because as I have said on this show before, if you are running in a race of tortoises and you are the lead tortoise, you still remain a tortoise. You must accept to get out of that race of tortoises and move forward. And this country has got the capacity to do so. And finally, Linda, Irungu here posits an argument that kills itself. The argument springs from all this that we are saying, that we are seeing some semblance of transformation everywhere in the country. If indeed we are seeing that semblance of transformation everywhere in the country, why does it become so important that the head of state should come from my tribe? I cannot eat the head of state. Martin Shikuku, who used to be our MP in Butere, taught us many years ago that we cannot eat the head of state, but we can eat the things which the head of state causes to come to us. And therefore, if there's another Kikuyu president who is a fair president, who follows the rule of law, who is fair to all his or her subjects across the country, I do not care that he or she is Kikuyu. When I'm given the schedule of people to vote for, I will vote for that president. And I've voted for a Kikuyu president before, when there were other names. that I could have ethnically aligned myself towards voting for.
All right, well, that's an interesting one, but we're not closing it at that. We have about 5 minutes or so. Politics of realignment, politics of, looking at just how best are you going to position yourself as we get to close this. And we've seen these individuals who are realigning themselves. We've seen Isaac Ruto joining the URP bandwagon, or better say the UDA bandwagon. I do not know how much he has to bring on board, or is it fear that, when we're talking about this particular tribe, then he will be rooted out if he sticks to his, chama cha mashinani or something of the sort. We have seen the likes of Kangata, while they could be vocal in terms of addressing issues that are of concern, many look at that as a way of these people positioning themselves. We have seen so many characters. We've seen, others defecting from the Kieleweke aspect to this other side of Tanga Tanga, and so much so that is happening. Healthy move, and we're likely to experience some more of this?
Yes, thanks a lot, Elda, for that, at least like appreciating academic knowledge. And the fact of the matter is, if you look at the US election, that maybe is used as a parameter of democracy in the world, there are states that no matter how good you are as a Democrat, you won't be voted in by the people because it's termed a Republican stronghold. That's a whole state. There are states that it's known to be, even when you people are analyzing, all of us analyzing the elections, we knew now the states we are waiting for are Democrat stronghold, Republican stronghold. What I would wish us as a generation to move from is the tribal aspect of it, but also acknowledge that the region politics are here to stay with us. South Africa, which is used maybe as a parameter of advanced democracy in Africa, they have ANC strongholds, they have the other parties stronghold. It's basically human. It's basically human. Realignment, what I'm waiting to see is how UDA will take the Nakuru by-elections. Because yesterday they had a meeting, the deputy party leader for Jubilee hosted UDA aspirants. Yet Jubilee party has aspirants in the same words. It's a, it's a scenario that is coming out clear that even if he doesn't speak about it, even if he talks about it, it's already showing itself that he's no longer in the Jubilee party.
What of the ones who did the same in Kibra?
In Kibra, exactly. Exactly. So it is a precedence that we have birthed ourselves. And like I said, sheria ni msumeno inakata ikienda na ikirudi. For Kibra, it favored Jubilee. It favored Jubilee. Na some of the would call the Kieleweke side of Jubilee. Now, what I'm against is what we call the self-seeking politics. When it favors you, you wake up and say, Mimi ni wa Jubilee. When it doesn't favor you. But when it favors you, you come and you say, kazi ni kujipanga. So that up and down, that juggling of I am this today, na daktari have talked about the chameleon, the tortoise. Allow me to talk about the chameleons. You cannot be changing colors based on where you are stepping on.
And that should apply across the board.
Exactly.
For the president and his deputy and for people in the opposition, everybody. We actually obtain in a chameleonic dispensation where we cannot tell those who are in government, we cannot tell those
we can tell
who are in the opposition. No, we can't.
Yesterday, Senator Orengo.
Israel Odinga, for example, in government or is he in the opposition?
He is in opposition, but he for me, I hold Raila is in opposition.
Okay.
But
yes.
He knows if he approach opposition in Kenya using the past scenarios, it will be chaotic.
Then why would the DP who is in government then point a finger at Raila to say
and I'm wondering what has Raila done, because running a government includes budget, cabinet, and assembly and all that.
If
what
he's
has
taking
Raila
a different
done?
approach, then why is it then that he's again reprimanding
What
the
has Raila
government
done?
for having failed.
That's the question the deputy president should tell Kenyans. That we had this budget, Raila said no. We had this cabinet, Raila came and asked for positions. And even when they were launching BBI 2, he spoke on the microphone and he said, hakuna cabinet minister nimesema nipewe. So he has not dismantled the cabinet, he has not dismantled the executive. He have just, in fact, we should be appreciating that we moved from the Maandamano Monday and all those resist movements to a peaceful nation that we can be able to transverse and do business across the country.
Is that all we wanted?
When you are
We're coming to you, Speaker.
a de facto co-president, you did not need to be given a cabinet position. Raila Odinga was appointed to some amorphous position by the African Union. Do we ever hear about him doing?
But we've seen
Kalonzo
having
we have reported on that.
I'll
Yes.
come to Kalonzo,
Yes.
including him saying things like the Akamba are under attack, and yet he wants to become the president of this country, and which must cause us to really fear for this country, because this is a senior politician who has
was
been
an EU
in
position on
parliament
peace
since
and all that.
1985 when he first went to parliament. He has served as a vice president and occupied some very senior positions in the land, and he is going back to the village and is telling the villagers that we need to lock out other tribes from this place because we, the Akamba people, are under attack. He asked President Uhuru Kenyatta to make him one of his spanner boys. And he was given something in South Sudan. I don't know where.
How far? He was there the other day.
It is sitting. But this is a very unique situation in which people in the opposition pray for positions in power. And quite often we have seen the ODM brigade coming to work with the Jubilee Brigade or Kieleweke, that strand of it, to take very key decisions on where the country should go. And therefore, even when we have things like COVID-19, and we have allegations coming from none other than the cabinet secretary in charge of the Ministry of Health, that they are thieves, including in Afya House and in Kemsa. The first people to come out to say that no, there are no such thieves, the person in government, the chief steward in Afya House, is telling us that kuna wezi hapa, pesa zinaibiwa. Na mtu anatoka nje kwa ODM ndio wako kwa mstari wa mbele to tell the republic that no, someone is just playing politics. They are in government.
They are in government. Well, evidently, as you have heard, who is in government, who's out of government is one thing that we do not understand today. We do not know whether the DP is in government or he is not in government. But at least from what Barack says, ODM is in government. And as the president would say, I've never said I'm fighting anyone's 2020. ODM is in Kenya?
Yeah, ODM
not
is
in government,
Kenya,
really?
not in government.
All right, well, Speaker, as we call it a day.
Yeah, well, I think what we are seeing in terms of the alignment now is a situation where people are looking keenly on the 2022 elections. Yeah. And as it were, the two leading candidates are Honorable Raila Odinga and His Excellency, the Deputy President, Bwana Ruto.
We have the others like Mudavadi in waiting. We have Gideon Moi on the side shows. They are eagerly waiting to be endorsed.
Politically speaking, those are the two leading horses. Any other thing would be a donkey in this race.
All right.
And what has happened is that as of now, Raila Odinga has realized that Ruto has really covered ground, politically speaking. And Raila has been relying on the BBI and has been waiting on His Excellency the President to hold him and somehow help him to capture the position in 2022. Now, with time, I think Raila Odinga is becoming a bit disillusioned when he realizes that there seems to be a bit of hiccups and handles when it comes to the Central Kenya and Mount Kenya politics. And for this reason, Raila Odinga is becoming very, very impatient. And what we are likely to see happening is that as we move forward now, we are likely to see a more robust Raila Odinga who is going to come out of his cocoon now and who is going to become a little bit more real and start asking very serious questions as to whether His Excellency the President will actually in the first place be concerned about the succession politics once he is done with his term. And Raila Odinga has been relying a little bit much more on the BBI process, which he hopes to draw resources from the national government to make his rounds around the country. And for sure, that is likely to work for him in that regard.
All right.
But again, the question he is also asking himself, am I doing this a little bit too late? Or should I have started a little bit earlier with this process? And that is where we are. And so Raila Odinga is now doing a catch-up game. And I'm now doing this much more from a political analysis perspective. And now with his impatience, he's also asking his principal or co-principal as to what help are you offering me in this? And that is why I want to believe His Excellency the President is now coming out like what he's doing today, addressing us through our vernacular radio stations, to try and also show His Excellency Raila Odinga that he's also doing something, because he has been accused that he's not coming out to campaign for
so we
Raila
get the answers of these.
You know, I know sometimes there's even the question as to whether,
as we close it, yes.
Yeah, there's that serious commitment as to the issue of BBI and all that. So
all right.
I can only look at it politically and try to do some political analysis here and see why is it that we are seeing what we are seeing today. And we are likely to see more of this. By the time we are getting to July, August, people are likely to start throwing caution out to the wind.
As many would have argued, we probably are waiting to hear who the president is going to front, or whether it's going to be him himself anyway, because there's talk of change of a constitution. It is really, really interesting to watch, and we'll be here to keep you up to speed. I'll wind up with what the president has said. Waendelee kunitusi, lakini wajue Simba amenyeshewa na sio paka. And he's actually spoken about Sonko. He says alisaidia huyu kijana Sonko to get to the top of the helm that is in Nairobi. So much is happening, and I guess
now we know why we had a clown for a governor.
But you know,
ouch.
but you see,
it wasn't the vote of the people.
No, he has admitted.
Yes, he has admitted, and then
why
we are closing up, gentlemen.
Yes, sorry, Daktari. Why are we blind to the political process of democracy?
Okay.
Why are we?
It's not a democracy, it's called ochlocracy.
Okay, whichever the way we look at it.
Stands for what?
Whichever we look at it. I'm trying to avoid, like you said, those big words.
But let's close it.
Speaker is saying that the president is speaking in vernacular station because of BBI and Raila. The president has been speaking in vernacular station for the rest I can remember, for the longest I can remember. He's done that 1,000,001 times. Just because the topic of the day is BBI doesn't mean that he has done it for the first time.
One would ask, why after that letter from Irungu Kangata, why at this particular, after that push from...
Hata mzee, watoto wakiwa sawa, he doesn't keep on disturbing them.
Thank you so much. So we'll start from there next time. Thank you so much, Dr. Barak Muluka, Communication Advisor, and Irungu Goko, Governance Expert right here in studio, and joining us via Skype, or who was with us via Skype, John Kagushia, Speaker, Nyeri County. It was good having you, gentlemen. We close it at that. We are crossing over to a different conversation altogether. That is on matters of nutrition. It's been an exciting morning. That's why sometimes you can get a bit of a tongue twister, but all the same, after this break with more.